in terms of skill level, and we should be underway shortly. And it looks like they're both going to go up towards level 1, as my commentary partner Can't Find Bombs is going to help with the tracking as well. I believe he's in here now.
Good evening, everyone. Interesting, both heading to level 1 to start. Usually we see somebody head over to vanilla 3.
Yep, this is my preferred route of choice. Sometimes like to see if I can't go into that candle shop near start and look to see what that shop holds. Kind of get an idea of where I have to go, but this level 3 does appear to have the bomb upgrade.
Yeah, on one hand it's good to find that early, on the other hand, nobody can afford it.
And already we're seeing a pretty good bomb force by garionoldwolf on that mold worm. By getting the 10 count on there and dropping the bomb on it, it allowed him to go ahead and get an extra 4-pack of bombs for the price of 1, so we'll have a bit more in terms of resources to utilize. And right away, silver arrows are in the staircase level 3, so garionoldwolf already has one of the items necessary to complete the seed.
And that is an excellent early find. Because that's one of those items that you're often looking for late in the game, and because important items are disabled in these flags, it's the only required item that could be in level 9. So that's something, if people are looking late for the silvers, they're always fretting, oh, I hope I don't have to do a full clear of 9.
Looks like Rambler's also going to route those in, so definitely going to see our setup get a Christmas card here in a couple months for the easy silver arrows in this.
Of course, once it starts out this easily, you know you're in for trouble later.
And it's the dark nut set in level 3 as well, so it's one less option for Wizrobes. Probably going to mean they clear out this dungeon in hopes of finding the floor item, as it's a little bit easier to clear this set than it would be the Wizrobes.
Yeah, although we haven't seen Wizrobes, they may be in the Overworld. Usually you see them on the way to 1, but not always. Looks like the red dark nut's got 3 hit points. Let's see, I don't know if anybody tries to take out any of the blue ones. Those ropes rolled high, though. That's never pleasant.
Well, if you gave me the option of a dark nut rolling up or a rope rolling up, I think you take the rope every day of the week, so probably going to be pretty happy that the reds at least roll down.
Yeah, although it depends on how many of the dark nuts you actually have to take care of. If you don't have to kill any of them, it doesn't really matter how high they roll, and those are the kind of enemies you avoid if you can.
Looks like some beatdown early in this level 3 with this enemy set.
Yeah, this level 3 is no joke.
A couple of times we see runners kind of get headstrong trying to get through a dungeon, and with all the heart containers known in the bonus caves or the Take Any 1 caves, whichever you prefer to call them, and the potential for Armos and White Sword, I wouldn't be surprised to see one or both runners potentially bail on this at some point, trying to get some more defense and or offense if it happens to be free.
Yeah, with this enemy set, that would be a pretty good play. I know I've had a lot of trouble forcing myself to leave a tough dungeon early in the game.
Yeah, we had this exact scenario play out last night where dungeons were pretty nasty, and both of our runners had found pretty sizable large secret and decent medium secret. At about 30 minutes, both decided that they wanted to get the blue ring, and suddenly the speed of the seed increased 2 or 3-fold. So, always a potential decision that the runners can make, and it can potentially pay off for them.
Yeah, and if you've got a nice big secret, that's a good play. Just because everybody's like, oh, if I buy the blue ring, I'm immediately going to find the red ring. It's okay. It made the red ring easier to find.
Rambler has used all of his bombs. With that in mind, it's a bit risky to fight this last blue dark nut, but he does have that heart container pickup, or not heart container, the heart. So he was within 2 hits instead of 1.
And he gets it done for the key, and he picks up his first Triforce.
Not too big of a shock to see him go ahead and pick up the Triforce out of 3 and presumably leave, given that he's key blocked and doesn't want to burn those keys. So we'll see if he makes this play towards the Armos at this point. Yeah, the shooting level 3 is in its normal dungeon location and usually has a item standing or drop in it in shape, so not too surprising to see the Triforce in there.
Well, we've got cheap bombs in the shop. That could be helpful.
Yep. In fact, cheap everything. The meat's 43, and the blue candle is also in its normal location, and a few rupees cheaper, but hey, you're talking about those whiz robes on the overworld? Well, we just found the blue ones.
Yeah, I think I might be the only person who actually likes whiz robes in the overworld, because it can make getting around a bit of a pain, but it means you never have to see them in levels. And they can get pretty nasty on low health.
Yep, for the longest time I was okay with whiz robes in the overworld, but I've actually found it more trolly to have to deal with the dark nuts in the dungeon, so I've kind of evened out my expectations and now kind of root for the dark nuts to go out there.
Yeah, we'll have to see what kind of items they find early. If anybody comes across the white sword, or if the heart containers start racking up quickly, you could see a sword upgrade.
Given the medium secret is reasonable and the candle price is low, a big play for me would be to try and get to a potential secret that's at a bomb spot. The one that comes to mind that's en route is the one northwest of the Armos in the Grave. That'll allow you to route that free Armos item. If it stays in its vanilla location, it can move. But if it stays there, you've routed it in, and you can go northwest, pick up the 30 secret, and check that shop that's on Death Mountain West. Unfortunately, it requires you getting through whiz robes.
Yeah, NYRambler is proving me wrong on liking whiz robes in the overworld. They're giving him some trouble. Oh, and this is where you get into the really bad situations, because the orange whiz robes can spawn one at a time. Usually in levels, they're not so hard to deal with because they all spawn at the same time and you just find a safe spot and stab. But on this screen, they're appearing sequentially, so there's just orange beams all over the place. And if you've only got 3 hearts, you can't take a beam without dying.
Yep, so each screen has a way that enemies appear on it. As you see on Rambler side now, there are Gibdo walking onto that screen, while on the screen below they also walk on. And any screen where the enemy will walk onto the screen, you can get incremental spawns as they spawn one at a time when they walk on. Whereas in this screen that he just passed now, they are all standing there on the screen to start with, so you will get all the Wizrobes spawning at once if you go that screen.
NYRambler deciding discretion is the better part of valor picks up a heart container.
Yep. Looks like Garion's going to try and make his way to level 3. Also Guria on the Overworld, I don't know if we've mentioned that. That actually be even more painful than Wizrobe sometime. And this level 3 is almost impossible to get in alive. I don't think he's going to be.
I hope for the sake of both runners that that's level 9.
Well, you know me, I'll root for level 1 being there, but I think still the play is always with the Armos.
Yeah, you've got 2 free Overworld items, 3 if you find the ladder early, so you may as well pick those up. As life has gone on, I've sort of tended to favor doing as much Overworld exploration as possible early. Someone says in chat, I hope Red Ring is under Armos. That would be nice.
And level 9 that you're rooting for at Vanilla 3 is at Vanilla 2 today.
Oh, that's a shame.
So you heard it here first, Can't Find Bombs is now rooting for a large level 6 there at Vanilla 3.
Don't even get me started on Shape 6. Garion finds level 2. That's going to be a good early one to dig, although we'll have to see what the enemy set looks like, because both of the items in here are floor drops.
Yep, with these ropes in there, they can be a secondary enemy in 2 groups, but I'm beginning to think it's quite possible that we have a Dark Nut set in this dungeon. Our container was one of the floor drops already. It was standing there, so you know what.
And a Dodongo, which is nice for a bomb refill. Garion finds the magic bomb hole.
Yep, unsurprisingly, dark nuts everywhere in this room.
Dark nuts everywhere in this room. Level 2 is going to make you work for it. Whoever finds either the wand or the white sword or the red ring is going to start moving real fast.
With these dark nuts, though, even if you have a little bit of defense or a little bit of offense, you're either gonna have to take a lot of swings still and get blink damage over time, or you're just gonna have red ring, or not red ring, you're gonna have wand and be susceptible to being 2-shot on Garion's side and 3-shot on Ramblers with full health.
Rambler finds the Triforce. He's not going to pick it up, looking to see if he can find an item.
And wow, I think Rambler actually just took damage from the Wallmaster as opposed to getting grabbed there.
Yeah, that was interesting. I didn't know that happened.
Well, that's a bit of good fortune for now. I can think of maybe one reason why that would occur.
I think it was a double kill. I think he killed the Wallmaster at the same time as he got hit.
Well, hopefully it pays off for him, because in another Darknut room could be a drop room, but it's most likely going to, yeah, it's just going to be a push to reopen. And looks like Rambler has had enough of level 2 as well. Still low on keys and not sure exactly where he has to go in this dungeon, so try force him.
Can't blame him. Come back if you need to later. Arrow Shop. I was going to say Arrow Shop had nothing useful, but I would not be surprised to see one or both of them getting blue ring.
All going to come down to this large secret, I think, for Rambler. I think he's already eyeing up that blue ring since it's going to be at the arrow shop as opposed to the specialty shop. Or he's going to walk up for the...
Yeah, I'd be thinking about blue ring at this point too, and I never buy the blue ring. $91, not great.
Not great, not terrible, given that you are not going to hit door repairs in this overworld since you have free knowledge of where every single secret is at. I think it's enough still to make use of.
That's true. You could get, but you also probably have to buy a candle. You probably have to buy arrows. You probably want to buy a bomb upgrade if you come across it. Actually, they don't need to buy arrows. They both got silvers. Forget I said anything.
Yep, and they've already both bought their blue candle as well since they used it to get into level 2 in the sea, which was added.
That's true.
And Rambler walks into the White Sword Cave, sees Lord Banana on the ground, and decides, even though I don't have a ranged weapon, I don't care about stunning anything.
Most of the range, most of the time you would need a range. Anything, Boomerang wouldn't be that useful. If we start to see likes, he'll probably wish he had it.
Likes are a possibility. Mini dig doggers are probably the most useful situation, but in any event, he's going to go back to Vanillify, which happens to be level 4.
That's true, and the dig dogger is going to be an issue once we find the recorder.
We only saw one item in level 2 to answer the question in chat, and it was a heart container, so he bailed with half of the knowledge, and he has mostly blue Darknut rooms with 6 or 8 blue Darknuts, so he bailed on those and said, I'll come back later.
Yeah, although Garion looks like he's going to find it. Come heck or blue Darknuts.
If it's sort of the good news, bad news, if you get it, it's great because you spent a lot of time and you got rewarded. And it's the White Sword, so it is a significant reward.
Yeah, that's worth.
Meanwhile, on the other side, as indicated on the tracker, we have a wand, sighting, and pickup in the staircase, so both runners suddenly get a little bit more combat. So I would say probably at the moment advantage Rambler, but keep in mind that sword will not hurt the Wizrobes on the Overworld, which is just fine, and also take a little bit longer to kill again if he doesn't get enough hearts to potentially check mags, or go back looking for items in level 2 later.
Yeah, my suspicion is that unless there's a late hunt for one of the required items, he's not going back to 2.
It is important to note that he will make up some of the time he'll lose on enemies that can't be hurt with the wand, on clearing dungeons with 3 damage should he use his wood sword and his wand at the same time on impact.
Probably still thinking about the blue ring though, although the offensive upgrade definitely helps. I guess Garion doesn't know where the Triforce is in 2 yet.
Of note on Rambler's side is we have quite a large dungeon for level 4. It's usually a little bit smaller, so it's going to take a little bit of the bite out of level 6 if and when they fight it.
Which is always good, because level 6 in shapes can be a beast.
And from a math perspective, it is 8 plus 7 plus 6 rooms. That's 21 in my head, so I would think it's right. And we do have a raft in level 4 on the floor, so that's both items. But each of the first 6 dungeons adheres to a strict 8 by 16 grid, which is about 128 rooms, and if you take away a handful of rooms that don't appear anywhere amongst those dungeons, you come out to roughly 20 to 21 rooms per level average. So if level 4 is sitting above average at 21, then you know that it's also going to take away some of the rooms, given that level 5 will be larger than it and level 6 will be larger than it. So you're probably looking at a slow climb up, such as 21, 23, 25, between 4, 5, and 6.
Garion finds a map of level 2. I don't usually say name that ink blot, but name that ink blot.
Yep, and counting it out, it looks like we have roughly, well, he left the dungeon as I was counting, but I wanted to say it was about 17 rooms.
We bought some bombs. Now we're coming back in for the Triforce.
We got 5, 8, 9, 10, 15, 19 rooms. So even level 2 is on the large side. That's going to increase the odds that level 6 is not going to be any worse than like a 24 room level 6. So this is one of the rare times where it's not going to be a terrible dungeon to dig.
Thank goodness for small favors. Nice beefy tektites. Tektites actually might be my least favorite enemy to have them with extra hit points.
Big question is, on Rambler's side, where in the world is this Triforce?
It's got to be out there somewhere.
This is a rather dangerous room to go into and look for it, though, as he's got half a heart, and that'll be it for him.
And Garion sees the Triforce sitting on the floor. So he'll be done with level 2 forever and ever. May it rest in peace, or not.
Yep, looks like he's going to route in the coast item, which I believe was a heart container for the seed, and that's the case. And now I wouldn't be surprised to kind of see him progress up to Large Secret, and then Vanilla 5 and White Sword Cave that houses Lord Banana.
Yeah, which he's not going to be thrilled about, I suspect. And NYRambler using the wand to great advantage on level 4, which is pretty annoying with all these fireballs. But the wand has a big hitbox, so you can hit enemies from a lot further away than you can with the sword and still make contact.
So let's have a little bit of fun here. We're 27 minutes into this seed. Neither runner has gone to the Grave Armos. Neither runner knows what is underneath the Armos statue. If they find it at 30 minutes and it's like Red Ring or lighter, is there going to be any freaking out in your mind if you're one of these runners?
Yeah, probably. I mean, when you find something that big for free, you're always assuming the other person's had it for 10 minutes already.
Well, I mean, Dracados usually has it at 3 minutes, and not too many people would hold off for the half-hour mark, so I definitely would expect my opponent to be there super early.
Yeah, I've developed a nasty habit of digging whatever levels I find, so I can definitely see where these runners are coming from. I remember in the earlier weeks before Shapes was a thing and before Dungeon Shuffle was a thing, it made it a lot easier to route those things in because you wouldn't be like, oh, hey, I found level 1, let's dig it.
I understand wanting to dig out level 4 to get the potential Triforce that is in level 4, which you can get back there relatively easily. Rambler's going to have a decision to make here on whether or not he wants to leave level 6 behind. I think it just got made a little bit easier for the purpose of routing level 6 to take it now, though, because he got blocked by that boat inside that room on the right side. So that's 3 pieces now for Rambler to garionoldwolf's 2.
And with any luck, level 6 won't have anything important. We can be done with it forever.
And maybe he's assuming that level 6 in this case is small, which I believe is actually true. It's not nearly the size that it could be. But it is interesting that with the free Armos item, we still are going to ignore it for the time being, given that we have the Triforce out of here, and it's on the raft spot, so it's quite close to your starting screen.
Garion's going to find the wands, and now he's got 2 double damage weapons.
We know the Armos is definitely on the west side of Hyrule, but we do not know if it's at the grave yet or at the specialty shop. It's just a question of where it rolled to. Seems quite likely it'll be in the grave at this point to me, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's there more than half the time. And we've already seen, I believe, all the eastern Armo spots. Got a transport staircase in 6, not what he was hoping for.
I think the longest I remember runners not checking the Armo screen was the first race of the 2018 tournament, which I believe was the Pentaforce tournament, was it not? And we had Matrick and Panolf in that race, and I think it was like a nearly 50-minute Armos check before we finally got to see it on one of the runners.
Was it something big?
Don't remember if it was big or not, but I remember that the bow was outstanding for the entirety of that time, so we were all freaking out in chat and in commentary as to whether or not the bow would actually have been free the whole time. Looks like we have a double heart 6 though, so that is good news for Rambler. He can cross off level 6 and never come back to it, as far as this seed's concerned.
On one hand, it's good news. On the other hand, one of those hearts was ladder blocked. So he's got to be thinking about the magical sword, and that's one possible barrier.
Magical sword would be nice, but on the other hand, it is also not the bow or recorder on the other side of that, which would have required a double deck.
That's true. Still not checking the Armos. This Garion gets the Triforce at a level 4.
Is now on this nasty screen. You either got a screen scroll or you're just dead, I think, on that screen every time.
Yeah, it's funny because people, when folks are new to this game and they want to learn how to screen scroll, people say, "Oh, you don't really need to know how to do it." The fact is, sometimes it's really, really helpful, even more so than in vanilla. Some of the absurd combat situations you get into in the overworld, you can just scroll past.
Yeah, I think you can get away with not having the best of screen wrapping capabilities on a non-overworld shuffle for enemy groups. But once you turn enemy shuffle on and pull Wizrobes, Dark Nuts, and Grias out of the dungeons, you're best served taking the time to practice it. We have several videos in the community now that are set up to teach you both visually by showing you their controller and showing you how to do it while they're doing it on the screen, and by talking you through it and kind of finding the points on the screen that you can wrap and or tricks to know when you're on the right pixel. So there are plenty of people out there willing to give you plenty of advice and help you along in this community for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, which is a big part of the reason I'm not terrible at this game anymore. I came in, I didn't know what I was doing, and everybody helped me, which is always nice to see. Speaking of getting help, NYRambler takes some time to get some defense upgrades. He bought the blue ring and he picked up the Reft Heart, so he's sitting a lot prettier than he was 5 minutes ago.
He's going to get the unfortunate news that level 9 is actually over in Vanilla 2, so we'll have to route somewhere else, maybe to said Armos item. Hint, hint, hint. They can't hear.
Even with the blue ring, that's not an easy screen. Gotta scroll past that one.
Well, you either have to scroll past it or you have to get northbound to the raft screen, where I think the screen scroll is probably a little bit easier because I don't remember there being wizards there. And both times the wizards decided to have one of their brethren park on the bridge and make sure that you took a damage for going across it.
And one of the most frustrating things about wizards is they don't have invincibility frames. So a lot of enemies you can stab and then walk through them. Wizards you can't. Fortunately, there's a ferry right over here. Well, now that NYRambler's got the blue ring, we might finally get to see what's at Vanilla 3.
Level 8.
Level 8. Good find. Especially at the kind of power he's got right now.
Well, given the struggle bus to actually get into this dungeon, I am not surprised to see him definitely sticking around for now, because you never know when you're going to get back in here.
Yeah, and if he finds the bow or the recorder or something, as Gary gets the Triforce and probably is done with level 6.
I don't think he saw both heart containers, but he may have seen one and called it quits because of dungeon size, so if he doesn't have to go back looking for items later, that'll end up saving him a little bit of time for sure. Rambler's gonna take the Hey.
I bet he's gonna come back. That was useful for the health upgrade, for the health refill rather.
It looks like we have a blue ring shop sighting. It looks like it's the cheap key shop, so that confirms where our armorous item is. We'll see if and when Garion decides to go up that direction. Has also located the blue ring shop in the arrow shop with Vanilla, and knows now it's 246, so he's roughly a large and medium away from being able to afford that this time. And that was a bit of a double whammy for Rambler. He didn't quite make it to the bomb drop that was on the floor. It disappeared. And the Dodongo decided he was going to walk through his bomb with an iframe, so lost all but one of his bombs in that room instead of being closer to 5 or 6. Kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, Dodongo's in an NSU room. Not pleasant. I mean, most enemies in an NSU room, not pleasant. Vanilla's a lot nicer in that department. We get to see what's at Vanilla 6. Garion's headed over there. Level 5.
Looks like for level 8 you have to burn a key to get over a column, since he was Goma blocked for the majority of the route. And he sees a compass on the corner, which is of no use, and a Goma blocking a staircase, so it won't be the bow, but it could still be the ladder. So if you can get in there without the guy playing a little raid boss on you, then you can potentially sequence break and find a big item, but instead it's a transport.
And we still have not seen the Armos.
Yeah, we're at the 40-minute mark. We do see a map of level 5. Looks like 21 rooms, so the exact same as level 4 setup.
And we've got the recorder.
So, in a sense, Rambler is potentially just one item away from being able to achieve go mode, assuming no ladder blocks. It's a pretty dangerous game to play, but it still is a potential possibility. And we're already at the map of 8, and it's pretty big. Meanwhile, Garyon is in 5 still, finds the transport staircase. Probably not what he was interested in at this point.
And 5 is not that big, so that's good to see. The enemy set's not too bad either.
Looks like we have 33 rooms in level 8. So it's basically level 7 size from vanilla.
That looks like a meat block in 5 on Garyon's side. And actually, I can't remember. Oh no, he did get in. He did not get into the room above that. I can't remember if he got in or not, but that could be a required meat block if he didn't.
I'm not gonna go there yet, given there's transport staircases and such still live in level 5.
It's not likely, but it does
certain-
happen once in a great while.
My favorite meat block ever was Zelda, basically in a setup where it was her room and the meat block was right below her, and you saw the shutter door open on the other side, so you knew you had to leave the dungeon in a hurry and go grab the bait and come back.
That's no fun.
I think it has happened twice in the last couple tournaments. Both times equally hilarious for me, the commentator, but not so much for the runner.
I think I've only been meat blocked in the tournament flags once, and it was a practice seat I was actually doing right before this race. But it was one of those nice, obvious ones. It was the second room of the level, and there was just nowhere else to go.
And we may have the other side of the transport, or we have the item. It is a power bracelet. Without the recorder, that's still a useful transportation, so not surprising to see garionoldwolf pick it up at this point. We'll see if he picks up the Triforce and leaves at this point.
There's really no reason not to get the power bracelet, and NYRambler finds the bow.
Yep, bow deep in level 8. It's a lot of rooms cleared with the Triforce, because the Triforce is super early in that dungeon. And he knows at this point that he's just a ladder away, and ladder may not even be required, so he's going to gamble that at worst the ladder is not in level 8, given there are 3 items still available in level 1, which is somewhere out on the world.
So what do we think? Armos has the ladder?
I would be super concerned in either case if the ladder was there, because that would... Actually, ladder or red ring there is probably no good for both runners.
Yeah, if I saw the ladder there, I would absolutely panic this late in the race, although I probably would have had the Armos item a long time ago. Different style of play. As Garyon gets the Triforce out of 5.
And sees the red wizard right in front of his face and decides, you know what, I like this dungeon a lot, I'm going back.
It's interesting because I believe Garyon's actually ahead on Triforces, even though he's way behind on items.
And level 1 happened to be flute block, so level 8 with 2 of the 3 items that you need to complete the seed, and it opens up level 1, which could potentially still have the other item. And you know what? We may never see the Armo screen on Rambler's side because he may get everything he needs out of here.
Boomerang, which he's not interested in this late in the game.
I'll save my best item in the game speech for another day. Still 2 items live in this level though, so definitely gonna stick around and see what he finds.
I refuse to get involved in boomerang politics.
Politics or not, I'm still going to give my speech of if you don't have a ranged item and there is a boomerang in front of you, you should almost always consider it. Here comes the Armos check. What do we have? Ladder.
The ladder.
So all this time, 45 minutes in, the ladder has been free to both runners, and it is the go mode item for Rambler. He could essentially Triforce and go everything from this point if he would only check the Armos.
Although, we don't know for a fact that the ladder is required. They've both gotten pretty far without it.
This is true, but still, it's, I still think garionoldwolf is super concerned that he just found that ladder. He's gonna go into level 7 now. You gotta hope he finds an early item in here and Triforces out.
Yeah, if I'm Garion, I'm kind of worried right now.
And for me, kind of hoping... Oh, we have a book sighting in level 1, so there's 2 of the 3.
Although if I'm NYRambler, I'm kind of worried too, because I'm wondering where the heck the ladder is. Because it's pretty rare that the ladder's not required.
Yeah, I tend to search all the smaller dungeons for it if I haven't been forced into needing it up until that point. Just because I don't want to leave it free. However, digging a dungeon at all for it right now is not going to work out.
I had one practice seed where I made it all the way to Zelda without the ladder, and she was in a moat room. I was not pleased. Got a heart container in 1, so that's all the items. Now we're just looking for the Triforce. And there it is.
So we are tied up on Triforce pieces, but in terms of items, we have a substantial lead the moment Rambler checks the Armos screen.
If you see Rambler walking through the Lost Woods, that's not something you see all that often.
Yeah, it comes down, I suppose, to your confidence. Oh, hey, bait block is actually there in level 7. I see that link turn to the right. That's usually a sign of shenanigans, and that is what Garion is mumbling about now, as he may be blocked for the rest of that dungeon.
Yeah, grumble, grumble. And I believe Rambler hasn't been in 7 yet, so we could have a required meat block.
That feels when your required go mode item in a seed is the bait.
Their dongos are being jerks to Garion. Fun. He took him out, and oh, right next to the Triforce. That was convenient.
Well, that's both good news and bad news. Garion is not blocked out of the Triforce in level 7. The bad news is neither is Rambler, and that's kind of one of the small things that could have kept Garion alive in this race for a little bit longer and allow him to catch up.
Although, it's a bit of a cliche at this point, but we have no idea what level 9 is going to be like.
He's going to try and bomb all these walls. There is no way around. It looks really, really likely at this point that at least one of the items is probably bait blocked. And it's going to force garionoldwolf out of 7, which we know is probably a good thing outside of a red ring. There's not going to be a lot there. Maybe an any key too.
Well, what's alarming is that Garion's doing all this on 5 hearts and no blue ring. So he's got to be pretty careful. Rambler's got 9 hearts and the blue ring, so he can take a lot more damage.
Don't forget, he also got the prescription from the old lady up in the northeast. So he has a red potion at his disposal, opts not to use it in the Starkdart room, and pays the price.
I suspect he's keeping it in his pocket in case Ganon's in an NSU room or something.
So here's the big play for garionoldwolf. He's screen wrapping to the blue ring shop. Can he get into level 8 with just 5 hearts on a green tunic?
I said corrected. Rambler uses a potion. Although he's got the letter, so he can always buy another one.
Yeah, he's only got one more large secret at his disposal. I believe he's only got the one in the forest left. Deadwood's one and the northeast corner have been collected.
But the potions weren't horribly expensive, so that may not be a problem for him.
Garion trying and not able to make it into level 8 this time. Hopefully he keeps trying to get in there.
I don't think a lot of people could get in there on 5 hearts and the green tunic. It'd definitely be tough for me.
Yeah, a very rare overworld strategy in practice is a blue candle boost, but for the sake of this screen, if you're going to enter it with 5 hearts, I would go in from the left side of that screen after getting my fairy refill and candle boost instantly and hope to avoid the first beam. And if you can avoid the first beam, it'll give you enough room covered on the overworld screen to actually get to the doorway. I might also consider changing the approach angle if you're going to continue going in from this side, because I think that the Wizrobe has to travel the furthest on the row that the dungeon entrance is on, so you have the most free time where you're not going to take a beam to your face or to your backside.
Yeah, and it's tough to walk on the half tiles like you do in levels in the overworld because you don't have the grid lines.
And Garen's gonna go up a screen and probably attempt the screen wrap on this one, since there's only one red Octorok in his way. And Rambler, meanwhile, has seen the Triforce in level 5, but because his decide to stay clear of the Armo screen, he has to continue digging and hoping that he finds his ladder in this dungeon. And here comes a bit of a play from garionoldwolf. He is getting a small secret in the Dead Woods. It now puts him within 10 rupees of being able to get his blue ring, so if he can just farm up a handful more, he should be able to pick it up from the arrow shop a couple screens away.
Yeah, I kind of wonder what he's thinking at this point, because he's got a lot of Triforces, but he's not that close to go mode. Although, actually, looking at his tracker, he's just level 8 from go mode, because the recorder and the bow are both in there.
Yep,
So he's just got to get past those 20 blue wiz robes.
Yep, and this is another situation in which knowing where all these secrets are on the overworld is to your advantage. He has his small secrets marked on his tracker as well, which allows him to find 2 within a reasonable distance of the blue ring shop. So here comes the blue ring purchase.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple heart container pickups too, although he's not really that close to any of them.
I would be shocked if he walks too far away from the dungeon on level 3 screen at this point, because he knows it's 1 or 8, and he's got to dig some items.
Rambler gets bopped back into 5. I hate when that happens. And he gets in. Garion is now in level 8. He'll be happy to see the items he finds if he full clears.
Alright, well, at 57 minutes and roughly 50 seconds, you are going to see the most panicked of ahead runners that you're probably going to see in this tournament, as NYRambler finds his ladder free on the overworld.
Yeah,
officially have him in go mode.
You gotta wonder what he's thinking right now.
Yeah, you should try not to think too hard about it, but you almost can't help but be concerned with the fact that you just now found something like that. The other huge issue that we're going to run into here shortly is garionoldwolf is going to have to burn a key to go north here, and he's going to have to go all the way up and burn the last of his keys at the top of this. So it's going to not feel too good for him to not have any keys going forward into level 8.
Yeah, we haven't seen the any key, have we?
Oh, the rupee boss gives him a key, so he still has 1, but I would still be a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I remember there being a couple on the floor. Nice clip past the Goma. That's not an easy clip to do. I know some of the runners make it look real easy. It is not.
Unfortunately, it leads you down into this segment with just 3 rooms, as I recall, and you're going to have to not get trolled by Dodongos in order to get through this room. And you successfully navigate.
Yeah, that appeared to not be a problem.
I believe the bow was the floor item in this dungeon, correct? In like the northwest area.
Yeah, it was pretty deep. And here's the heart container, which was that 3rd item that nobody talks about.
And Rambler's probably mildly concerned at this point about that bait block, because he knows there's at least a room behind it. But if he finds the Triforce, you instantly will not have to panic any further. I believe it's kind of up and to the right of this room, so he looks to be heading the right direction.
Did he get the Triforce? Did Rambler get the Triforce out of 4? I know I'm the tracker, I'm supposed to know that.
No.
Garion finds the recorder. I'll be happy about that.
Yep, he's got to keep looking in this dungeon, though. We'll see if he does. If he does, he's going to be a little bit behind going to level 9, potentially. But he'll be substantially behind if he doesn't check for it.
I mean, he's not going to go into level 9 without the bow, because he knows it's required and he knows it can't be a 9.
Correct, but now that he knows what this dungeon looks like, will he opt to dig to the northwest? That is the big question.
You kind of have to. Level 4 should be a pretty quick clear at this point, although he doesn't have the compass, so he doesn't know where the Triforce is.
Looks like Garen's going to opt into Triforce out of 8. Will he turn around? This is the big moment in the race.
Nope, he's going to 1.
It is a good play in theory. It will not be an outcome.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it probably is the right play, because 1's going to be faster. There's 3 items in 1, and it's going to be faster to clear than whatever's left of 8, probably. Although we know that the enemy, if I remember correctly, the enemy set in 1 wasn't pleasant. Alright, now Rambler's got the compass out of 4, so he should be out of there and into level 9 shortly. Garion likewise nopes out of the scrap metal.
Yep. Keys are all that stand in Rambler's way now, and they're not going to take too much of a fight to take down, so he's officially going to level 9 here at roughly the 64-minute mark.
Which is not bad at all given this seed. This was not an easy one. We never did play Name That Tune. I don't recognize that one. Do you recognize it? Chad says, no idea what that is, so Final Fantasy. Probably true.
Yeah, Rambler is probably going to have to pick a different script to recorder out of. That level 8 screen is pretty nope-tastic.
Well, level 9's in the east, so we want to go back over to Vanilla 8 to get there. Looks like he's going to pick up a heart container.
Yeah, I think he has a full potion at this point at his disposal, so it definitely is a heart container. I don't think magical sword is really a play at this point at 10 hearts. Seems very unlikely to pay off, but maybe.
He's gonna make a play. I'd make that play if level 9 were at vanilla 6. It's not the worst idea in the world. He's still got the wood sword, remember, and Ganon on the wood sword is not easy. Yeah, it doesn't get it. Garion gets his Triforce out of 1. Now he's got all 8 Triforces, but he knows the bow is out there somewhere.
Yeah, see, if you're gonna make the play for magical sword, for my money, you would go ahead and go to level 4, get the burn brush heart as he got, and then you would flute to level 1, which is at vanilla 7, world wrap your way into getting that raft check out of the way for that heart container, and then do it.
I think he's already got the raft heart. And we've got Dark Nuts in 9, which is making that Mag's play sound a little smarter, even though he didn't get it.
It is important for Rambler to go ahead and clear out some of these rooms, because he is short keys, so every key's going to probably...
Yeah, and he's also looking for the door that's not going to open. Garion's still hunting for that last item in level 1. Was that the princess? I think that was the princess in level 9.
Yep, half of the equation's already been solved. He hears a roar. I dare say this is going to be a fast 9.
Wait, this is such a thing as a fast 9? I didn't know that was a thing in these flags.
Well, it just depends on how soon we hear Ganon's roar, and whether or not we can get into his room from the roar.
I mean, I've had fast 9s when I've had the red ring and the magical sword, but not even close to that here.
Typically, Gan's the easier of the two to find, given that you have the roar kind of selling him out.
Yeah, in this strat you'll often see as runners trying to go up and down columns to try to cover as much roarable ground as possible, as efficiently as possible. Garion decides 1 is not interesting for him anymore, goes back to level 3.
Yeah, Garion is out of keys, and that is kind of stymieing his progress at this point. I don't know that he has a lot of potential rooms to look through in level 3 either, so maybe possibly sends him back to 8 a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I mean, he's would probably hope to find the any key as well. Because keep in mind, he has no idea how far behind he is.
No, but again, he found his ladder about 12 minutes before Rambler found his, and that was at past the 40-minute mark. So he knows he's not likely to be the first to have picked it up, even though it actually is the case this time.
Garion just Kananakeyed. He took advantage of a glitch where if you kill the last enemy in a room, if there's a shutter door and a key door, and you kill the last enemy while you're pressing up against the key door, you can go through it without a key. That was a pretty nifty trick.
Now, in that, oh, wait a minute. We saw Rambler go through that room, the Chevy room. Was there fires in there the first time? Is that why we had respawn?
I missed that. I was watching Garion's Kananaki antics.
Well, I say that because there was a Wallmaster and a Red Darknet that spawned in the room where we thought Zelda was on the right, so...
Oh,
must have been either via... There must have been a Vire that split in that room, or we've all been bamboozled by the Wallmaster.
Well, there could have been 2 Wallmasters.
Garion has checked level 5 and has decided that that is not the answer. So where will he decide to go next?
Fully back to 8.
Well, he's fluting off to somewhere. Where will he flute to? He is fluting to level 6.
Now, keep in mind while he's digging all these levels, there's a chance he could find the any key or the red ring, both of which would be hugely helpful.
Rambler walked halfway down to that. Oh, here we go. The shutter door did open, so that was not Zelda. It was a trap.
Oops, we said corrected.
You walked halfway down that heart container, though, and, you know, if you keep kind of getting stymied in 9 by combat, maybe it wouldn't have been that terrible a play to pick that up, and if you have to go out at some point, pick up a potential mags check again.
I've done that before.
I know it's quite a bit of time burned kind of checking for that, but in any event, it would have potentially been useful.
Yeah, it's one of those things that makes more sense. You know, if you're at 12 hearts and it gets you to 14, it can make a lot of sense, because at 14 you're guaranteed the magical sword. And if it takes you 2 minutes to pick it up and then saves you 3, that's a win. Depending on the enemy set, it could save 3 minutes.
So we're potentially going to get a little trolled here by both Zelda and Ganon in level 9, as we found neither at this point. And you know, I'm not a big fan of the way that Dig Dog roared initially. I'm not saying it's the case of it being masking Ganon, but I would check that room again.
Yeah, I always check that room again. I'm terrible at distinguishing.
And see, I heard the same thing on that one, so I'm not sure if it's a dig dogger thing or if, what it is. So is Ganon to the left in this room potentially? Or the right? Well, this is a shoot room, so that's not going to give him any progress. Uh-oh. Ganon's roar, yep. Go on to the right.
NYRambler finds himself with all kinds of keys all of a sudden. Oh, what was I just saying? Ganon in an SU room. Good thing he's got that potion.
He's gonna need 2 hits.
Yeah, he's gonna need 13 more. Nice stun lock.
He only got weight at the end there just a little bit, but I think he only needs 1 more hit, so this should be pretty much all she wrote. Well, 2 more hits.
I think he's at 12. And he's got him. Making bacon.
Right. Now, is Zelda just to the right in this room? The answer is no.
Alright, now it's the frantic hunt for Zelda. For that shutter door that opens automatically. Or the compass. There we go.
Well, maybe it's that door that we saw earlier. Who knows? In any event, get your GGs out for NYRambler, who has taken the series 2 games to 0.
He finishes with an official time of 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 11 seconds. And if he leaves the screen up, we'll get to see what song it was.
And with that, we are joined by our winner of this series, NYRambler. Congratulations, sir, and oh my goodness, how panicked were you at that ladder?
Well, turns out it was required, so I'm glad I got it. But yeah, finding the ladder where I did was definitely a huge relief. I mean, I didn't have to dig 7, I didn't have to go back to 2. I think I only double dipped 4 the entire time, which is rare for the way I route, so that's good.
What do you think about that seed in general?
I mean, it was fine. Wizrobes in the Overworld were the only really bad thing about it. They were like the fact that the wizards were on the bridge room. I don't know how to screen scroll, so I had to route my entire game plan around getting there after Blue Ring. So I did everything on the right side of the world first, and then after that, I had enough money for Blue Ring. I was comfortable enough to go to the other side, and sure enough, as soon as I got into the dungeon that was up in level 3, I got into quasi-go mode. All I needed was ladder.
Yes, there were a couple of pretty bad Wizrobe situations in the overworld in that one.
Yeah, and I would have been even faster if I remembered to bomb the way into the Triforce room in 4. I thought it was either going to be in that like room or in the T room with the Big Dogger. So I decided to leave and just come back later because the like room was terrible and I didn't have the recorder. So, and it turns out it was neither.
Yeah, the big win in this seed was that you did not leave level 8 until you found the bow and the recorder. Garion found both the heart container and the recorder at a level 8 and had about 25 rooms left to check for the floor item and noped it, and he has been looking for it ever since. That's been his one item.
Yeah. 8 being in the far northwest of 8, I believe is where it was. I mean, the bow being where it was, I mean, I don't know if you found map or not, but map was definitely a huge help for me in 8. But yeah, the seed was, it was a very nice seed. It gave everything I needed at the right points. I would have liked to have a better sword, but, I stun locked Ganon for 12 hits, so that was pretty good.
Yeah, the white sword was a floor drop item in level 2, and I believe you had to kill 6 or 8 blue dark nuts to get it. Garion found it fairly early.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I noped out of that room.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
It was a bomb wall in the left side of that blue dark nut room to get to 6 red dark nuts, which is where the white sword I think was sitting.
Oh, I just want to talk about one other thing about the damage rolls in the seed. How were all the ropes, all the tektites, all +2?
Right?
I mean, come on. And I think the blue dark nuts were also +2. I wasn't counting too much on the blue dark nuts because they always take forever, but it seemed like it took a lot. I know red dark nuts were -1.
At least the keys didn't roll up.
Oh god, that would have been. If it was the keys also, all the 1 HP. I mean, even the Octrox and Overworld, the slow red and the fast blue were +2. But I'm glad I was able to get this win, and now I'm getting ready to take my beanie from Unos, so that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, you're up against Unos in the next round. Tell us about that. How are you gonna prepare for that one?
I'm going to gamble like you would never believe.
Probably the best option. As we know, Unos won most of the qualifiers that he played in. He's going to be a tough opponent.
I was top half once.
Unos can be beaten, but it's gonna be fun. So we're all looking forward to seeing that matchup.
I'm just hoping that I have 6 Triforces when he wins, honestly.
I mean, I think I've beaten him 3 times or 2 times so far in the qualifiers leading up to this bracket stage, so if I can beat him, anybody can beat him.
I don't know about that. You're a lot better than I am. I'm just a lowly 63 seed. I'm realistic. Let's just be real here. You know how I am.
Alright, Garion finds the map in level 1, so now he knows which room he hasn't been in. He's also turned red, so I think in our excitement of the finish of that seed, we missed the red ring potentially out of 7. I think he was definitely light blue.
Yeah, he may have gotten it in 7. I know he found the any key in 7. I saw that. So at least he's not going to have to worry about combat anymore. He just needs to find the bow.
Now he sees the book.
And does appropriate damage to it.
I think the destination we're looking for in level 9 here is off in the east, past a roaring dig dogger, so it may take Garion a little while to hear that roar if he's not well accustomed to hearing it through other boss enemies.
Yeah, although he restreams a ton of races, so I suspect he knows what to listen for. He also plays a ton of races. So we'll see what happens when he gets over there. It's a subtle difference. I get confused on that a lot. A couple of questions in chat. NYRambler's time was 1 hour 17 minutes and 11 seconds. And the next match is
It's the Team Sweden matchup, so it's. I think the other matchups may be on Randomania currently ongoing in progress, but that'll be our next matchup.
yeah, Bogey and Nora are on Randomania right now. Their match started at 10:30 Eastern.
Alright, hopefully this staircase will take you over in the general direction of Ganon, because we are a little bit away from it at the current moment. And put you back in this room, so see if he can't find his way over into the correct location.
There's that troll room with the wall masters that we thought was Zelda initially.
Alright, spits him out into the room with the dig dogger. Kills it. He'll be able to hear the roar after exiting and re-entering the room, so it will be pretty important for him to go ahead and come back into this room afterwards. Alternatively, if he just goes right in this room, he'll hear the roar all the same.
Yep, and then he'll go up without hesitating because he's got the any key. He's only going to have to take 8 stabs at Zelda. And he, because his sprite character is the Lionel over here, he gets to fight Zelda instead of Ganon. Now he's just looking for, who's he gonna rescue?
If he's got the Lionel, it's probably going to be Ganon. We'll take the stair, go up. like if he goes up, left, up, he's got the solution. And bombs through that wall. There's the shutter door he was looking for. He's going to beep all the way to Ganon, but he is going to complete this seed. Get your GGs out for Garionold.
And GG to Garion, who finishes in second place with a time of 1 hour, 36 minutes, and 33 seconds.
And we're unfortunately going to have to abstain from the interview as the next race is ready to go. But if you would like, go ahead and support both the runners from this race, NYRambler and garionoldwolf. Garion is peeking in here real quick. GG's Garion, we have that next race coming up next in literally the next 2 minutes. Anything you'd like to say to some of the fans out there that watched you finish this one off?
All I can say is I hate where that bow was.
I couldn't agree more. In any event, thanks to Can't Find Bombs for helping me out during commentary and tracking for this race. He's going to step out, and I'll see you guys on the flip side.
Thanks everybody for the commentary and restream.
Yeah, thanks everybody. GG to both runners. And I believe we will be jumping over to the next race. So have a good evening.